Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video where we dive once again into the fantastic world of dinosaurs. Here we have both herbivorous and carnivorous specimens. And over here, we can see a dinosaur nest. It looks like they're about to hatch. So let's start by taking out the first one. How about we take a look at this interesting dinosaur? This dinosaur was a feathered dinosaur, meaning its body was covered in feathers, although you can't really see that here in the figure. But the most interesting thing about this dinosaur, which is called Oviraptor, was its diet. As you can see, it has an egg in one of its claws. And that's because it mainly fed on dinosaur eggs. That is, it would go to the nests of other dinosaurs and steal the eggs so it could eat them later. That's why it had a strong beak at the tip of its mouth, because it used it to break the shell and eat what was inside. As you can see, its head was also very distinctive. It had a crest on top, its neck was slightly long, and as you can see, its body was very slim. This allowed it to run at high speed, since it needed to escape once it stole the food. We'll leave it here and continue with a different one. We have a long-necked dinosaur, and this time it's a Brontosaurus. There are many different types of long-necked dinosaurs. For example, the most famous ones are the Diplodocus, the Brontosaurus, and also the Brachiosaurus. As you can see, it had 4 very large and sturdy legs, and its neck was super long. This type of dinosaur was a giant among giants, and lived on planet Earth during the Jurassic period, more than 150 million years ago. Normally, they lived in groups or herds. So let's bring out another long-necked dinosaur and put it next to this one. In this dinosaur, we see some differences compared to the previous one. This is a Brachiosaurus. As you can see, its neck was very vertical. You can see the difference with the previous one, since this one has its neck more oriented forward. Meanwhile, while the Brachiosaurus had its neck oriented more upwards, in a vertical way, it also had a small bump on the top of its head, which is a characteristic of the Brachiosaurus. It's also very interesting that it had front legs that were bigger and longer than the back legs, since they had to support the weight of this long neck. Its body was so big that it needed to eat tons of food. Another one over here. Let's leave it next to this big rock and continue with another one. I'm seeing several specimens of armored dinosaurs. Let's take them out to create a big herd of them. This dinosaur is called Ankylosaurus. As you know, its body was almost unbreakable. It had very thick skin, and the upper part was covered with spikes. We can see it here. In addition, it had a powerful defensive tail strike. Its tail was quite long and had a huge club at the tip, which it used by swinging from side to side to defend itself whenever a predator came. It seems that this one is just a baby. It's much smaller. The Ankylosaurus was also called the armadillo of the Cretaceous, since it lived on planet Earth more than 65 million years ago. In addition, its head was also armored, and it had spikes both on the sides and on the top. And look, over here I see another Ankylosaurus. We have it in 3 different sizes. It looks like this one is the mother, since she's the biggest of all. She comes in green on the top. And as a fun fact, I can also tell you that it had a strong beak at the tip of its snout, something characteristic of herbivores. They used it to dig in the ground in search of food. So let's create a big herd of ankylosaurs here. We have them in 3 different sizes: the mother, the older brother, and the little brother. Let's continue with another one. And this time, we finally have a carnivorous dinosaur. It's the famous Velociraptor. As you can see, its claws are hook-shaped. Its front legs were quite long, and it used its strong claws to catch food and bring it to its mouth. The Velociraptor was actually a feathered dinosaur, although in movies and figures, it's usually shown with rough skin. As you can see, it had a jaw full of sharp teeth. This little figure doesn't have very nice details. As you can see, it's not painted very well. As you can see, not painted very well. More about the Velociraptor. And that's because they hunted in groups or packs. Therefore, even though their size wasn't very big, they were able to catch large prey. Also, they could run at high speed. Let's look at the next one. Over here, I see another large carnivorous dinosaur, characterized by the large sail it had on the dorsal part of its body. The Spinosaurus was a giant among giants. It could reach about 17 meters in length from the tip of its mouth to the end of its tail. In adult specimens, it was also a bipedal dinosaur that walked on its hind legs. And as a fun fact, I can tell you that it loved to dive into the water and the river, since it really enjoyed eating marine animals. It would leave its whole body under the water, exposing its large sail. That's why it's also called the sailback dinosaur, since it looked like
un barco de vela.
Another carnivore. We still have many more figures left inside the box. And look at this cool figure. It's the Great Stegosaurus. What I like the most is that its large bony plates come in red, which makes them much more striking. Its head was very small compared to the rest of its body. Also, it had 4 large spikes at the tip of its tail to defend itself from all of them. Over the years, many fossilized bony plates have been found, which has helped us discover information about this spectacular dinosaur. It could reach about 9 meters in length and lived on planet Earth during the Jurassic period, more than 155 million years ago. Let's continue with another type of herbivorous dinosaur. As you can see, this is one of those dinosaurs that had a crown-shaped skull. However, it's not the Great Triceratops. This time, it's called Styracosaurus. It had a large horn on the top of its nose and on its skull. It had a lot of very long spikes on the sides, which reached their maximum length right at the top center. Generally, it was a type of dinosaur that was smaller or more compact than the Great Triceratops. And how about we start talking about the Great Tyrannosaurus Rex, one of the greatest predators that has ever existed on planet Earth. It could reach about 14 meters in length, its head was gigantic, and it had a total of 60 sharp teeth. Impressive! It was impossible to escape from those jaws. Also, its front legs were very small compared to the rest of its body. It also had a long and heavy tail that it used as a counterweight, since its head was very large and heavy. Also, it was a bipedal dinosaur and was one of the greatest predators. We'll leave it here. And what do you think? If we talk about a great flying reptile, it's the famous Pteranodon. As you can see, it had a strong horn on the back of its head, and it was also known for having a long beak, which it used to catch food, just like the claws on its hind legs. It had a long wingspan of more than 2 meters in length, and it loved to fly over rivers, seas, and oceans in search of food, since its favorite food was found in the sea. Here's another one. We still have a lot more to discover. Look, here we have 2 very similar specimens. These 2 dinosaur specimens, as you can see, are very similar to the Great Stegosaurus. However, we can see some differences. They're called Kentrosaurus. And as you can see, it had large bony plates on the front part of its body. On the front part, while the back part was covered with spikes. However, the Stegosaurus only had spikes at the tip of its tail. Let's put it together with the large herbivores. And now we only have a few animals left. And this time we have one of my favorites. It's the Great Parasaurolophus. It had a horn on the back of its head, just like the Pteranodon. However, in the Parasaurolophus's case, it was able to make sounds, which it used to communicate with the rest of the herd. It made very shrill sounds, similar to those of a trombone. And now we have just a few specimens left inside. It seems that all of them are herbivores. For now, we have 2 more specimens of long-necked dinosaurs here. We have one that's smaller than the previous one, from the Brachiosaurus species. Look. Earlier we saw a bigger figure and now a smaller one. We'll put them together, since they're probably mother and child. And over here we have another one, with some differences. Honestly, I don't know the name of this long-necked dinosaur. What we can see is that it had large spikes, especially in the central part of its body. Also, I really like the colors of the figure, in green, which is very striking as well. Just like the Diplodocus, it had a long, whip-like tail, also to defend itself from predators. And the shape of its mouth is quite strange. As you can see, it's bigger than that of the other long-necked dinosaurs. One more over here, and now let's take a look at the last specimen in the box, which is the famous Triceratops. Earlier we saw the Styracosaurus with a horn on the top of its nose, while the Triceratops had 3 large horns. The 2 horns on the top of its head could reach almost a meter in length. It lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period. And now, friends, we've finished today's video. Here are all the dinosaurs we've learned about. We've got a lot of herbivorous dinosaur specimens. And on this side, I've also placed the long-necked ones. We also have a small herd of Ankylosaurs here. On this left side, we have all the herbivores. While on the right side, we have some of the carnivores we've gotten, like the Velociraptor, the Spinosaurus, and the great Tyrannosaurus rex. If you like this video, you can help me out by giving me a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And now, it's time to say goodbye. See you in the next video with more amazing dinosaurs. Goodbye.